And we're live. Welcome back to the Loopcast. Happy Ash Wednesday. And if some of you may have joined us last night at our Loopcast After Dark.
Ooh, it's a late night.
Was it a WWE wrestling match? Was it a political speech? It wasn't the State of the Union. Remember, Josh educated us all. Thank you. It was a wild ride. I made a promise last night. Erica would have the absolute first word on what we witnessed last night. Erica.
Mercer, back off. No, it was a historic moment. That was a great speech. I was telling you, I think in terms of rhetoric and delivery, it was spot on. I loved it. It was the longest. I think we came up right. It was the longest address to the joint session of Congress in American history. It was an hour and 40 minutes. And I've watched these before for work, and they're usually just really long stump speeches, either for an upcoming campaign, Joe Biden last year, or for like, these are all the great things that we're doing, right? This was like a victory lap 6 weeks into the term. He delivered it 100% Trumpisms, Trump style. It was entertaining. I laughed. I cried. It was moving. And then in terms of the content, I mean, from the guests that they had lined up to everything he covered, the order in which he covered it, it was great. This was a great speech. And I think everyone who was able to watch the whole thing all the way through and not fall asleep, it was entertaining. I loved it. It was good. That's all I have to say.
That's not all you have to say.
It's not all I have to say, but as a little intro, because I know we got to dig into Charity Mobile before we get
yes, of course
into this, and I just want to let them have their say.
Listen, Lenten season, we're trying to refocus our lives here, focus on the gospel, focus on doing good work, and so I'm happy to present Charity Mobile as our sponsor today. It's the pro-life phone company. When you switch to Charity Mobile, 5% of your monthly plan price goes to a pro-life, pro-family charity of your choice at no extra cost to you. It's everyday living made effortless giving. It's time to make the switch. Think about almsgiving as a part of Lent here. This could just be a really easy opportunity to accomplish that with when you're texting, when you're calling people. It's awesome. So with the same nationwide coverage as major carriers, Charity Mobile has a variety of plans to fit every need, from basic talk and text options to unlimited data, and you can get up to 8 lines. They offer a range of phones, from simple flip phones to the latest 5G smartphones, or you can bring your own compatible device. Plus, there are no contracts, no termination fees, and a 30-day guarantee. No risk in giving them a try. So Charity Mobile's been in business for nearly 30 years, providing U.S.-based customer service by phone, chat, or email. So why not buy the way you believe and support causes that matter to you with your everyday phone use? New customers can get a free phone after instant credit, plus free activation and free standard shipping with the promo code LOOPcast. Happy Lent, guys. If you want to join in with Charity Mobile here, now's a great opportunity. Thank you so much to our sponsor today.
And, I've actually talked to some charities who have received the checks from Charity Mobile because of people have listed them as charities to support. So I've seen the good work. So keep that up.
It's true. Good, yeah. It really works. Hey, I loved the Lenten tie-in there too. That was great. Yeah.
I do what I can. So getting into this speech, we were up watching it live. And I will say, I was trying to think of ways to maybe structure this. There's the speech itself. I think the strategy of coming forward with this speech, there's the highlights from it. And then of course, Democrats were super dignified and well-behaved as always. So there's no
very impressive, statesman-like.
So don't worry. And then also the news pundits, the arbiters of truth, they had their 2 cents on it that were, certifiably insane. So I think I'd like to start with the rhetorical strategy. Now, I think one clip in the speech, I think, helps do this more than anything else and thoroughly accomplish the mission tonight. But I'm going to play this clip for us here, and then we'll get into conversation on it.
Democrats in front of me, and I realize there is absolutely nothing I can say to make them happy or to make them stand or smile or applaud. Nothing I can do. I could find a cure to the most devastating disease, a disease that would wipe out entire nations, or announce the answers to the greatest economy in history, or the stoppage of crime to the lowest levels ever recorded. And these people sitting right here will not clap, will not stand, and certainly will not cheer for these astronomical achievements. They won't do it, no matter what. Five times I've been up here. It's very sad, and it just shouldn't be this way.
I think that was brilliant.
That was brilliant.
Absolutely brilliant, because it's every person listening could totally agree with that and understand exactly what he's saying.
100%. And not only that, but it's that the comment there, that clip was the first 5-6 minutes of the speech, and then he went on to prove himself right the entire time. I mean, there were Democrats, they wouldn't even stand up and clap for the kid, the 13-year-old who survived brain cancer. There were very few of them who stood for Laken Riley. They wouldn't even get up and clap, hearing about
Or they might clap, but they
Poreign.
wouldn't stand up, right?
Right, they wouldn't. Yeah, exactly. And he just went on to prove them right. And the Democrats, like, talk
They
about
had
failure to
90
read the room.
minutes. They had 90
Yep.
minutes to prove them wrong.
And they couldn't.
You mentioned the DJ clip. I mean, I've watched this so
Oh
many
my
times,
gosh.
and it's
Little
like
guy.
I'm almost concerned with this speech a little bit because it just is setting the bar so high that I need to expect basically like Make-A-Wish opportunities for everyday Americans.
It was like an Oprah Winfrey show, and
was awesome.
you get a Social Security. It was great. It was great. Just
So
we got to
what,
do DJ.
what we're talking about here is this is Trump's Secret Service Director, Sean Caron, just made a young DJ Daniel, a Texas boy with cancer. He's 13 years old who dreams of becoming a police officer, a Secret Service agent. I mean, I can't say it any better than what you're going to watch here.
I am asking our new Secret Service Director, Sean Curran, to officially make you an agent of the United States Secret Service.
And his face,
His eyes.
his eyes just went,
Oh,
what?
man.
Me? Oh. And he hands him the badge. Oh, man.
Picture of the night right there.
That kid's cute.
That kid is really cute. And he goes
Goes
the
in for
hug.
the
Oh,
man.
choked up a little.
I'm no softie, but that gets
Yep.
close to tears.
That'll do it.
That's
Come on,
good.
That'll
man.
do it.
That's good.
So notably, people in the in the room during the speech said that there was Democrats not clapping for that, not standing.
100%.
Just don't go then. I mean, like to me, I don't understand that. Like, when Joe Biden brought people in, I mean, I would clap for them. I mean, I don't like.
Yeah, like, that's good. That's classy. But
I don't
It
get
gets. I mean, it gets to the. So we talked about the rhetorical point. It gets to the broader point. Like why are Democrats in disarray right now? Why is their approval rating with the public in like the 20%? Obviously, we're going to get into some of the amateur stunts, but everything that they've become now is just reflexively anti-Trump. If Trump's for it, if Trump does it, we're against it. And Trump smartly realized, I'm going to pick really popular issues with the general public, and they're just going to oppose it, and they're going to look dumb, and they do.
I know, and I give credit to the MVP here, Susie Wiles, the chief of staff. She's picking these issues that are 80-20. We say 80-20, 80% of the population supports it. Like, and the Democrats like, well, if Trump's for it, we got to be against it. So, like deporting criminals, like who've committed a murder, abuse. Like, well, I mean, they were thinking about like they'd filibustered the Laken Riley Act in the last Congress, right?
right.
And so this time they're like, well, I guess we can let this one go. Oh gosh, how magnanimous you Democrats are to finally let one bill through. But they won't do it to stop boys being in men's sports. They all wear pink. All these
Lord.
congresswomen to show that they're standing for women, and they're all wearing pink. And it's like, I thought you didn't even know what being a woman was.
It is. This is the Democratic Women's Congress confirmed to Time on Monday.
Caucus,
that
yeah.
caucus.
Yep.
That the pink attire is meant to signal our protests of Trump's policies, which are negatively impacting women and families.
And then
notably,
he brings in that 19-year-old that got smashed with a volleyball by some
Josh,
weird dude.
You're missing that the Democrats cloitured the men and women's sports bill before the same day. I think it was maybe the day before.
Right.
Yeah. This week.
Oh my gosh, man! It's like you guys figured it out.
Oh, there's the hot pink. I can't.
This is my favorite. I don't know.
Pepto-Bismol, yeah.
Pepto-Bismol with a Sharpie with words of protest and power written all over her blazer. And you're just like, one, as I said last night, ladies, no one looks good in this shade of pink. And then two, to sit there. This was visually jarring as well. It would pan to the women in pink and Rosa DeLauro with her purple hair. And you see, okay, here's the women on this side. And then it would pan back over to Donald Trump's guests, like Riley Gaines, beautiful young woman, articulate, his guests who, are survivors of Biden policies, essentially. It was like, here's your choice, ladies, and I would much rather be over.
Did you see
on the right-hand side there?
The camera work was just devious at certain points of the night. Like one of the
was.
things was like, I am ripping DEI out of the government, and then they panned over to Ilhan Omar.
Man with her turban on.
Nancy Pelosi sure looked dead in the eyes.
Stuck in her lounge all night. It's just, she did not look good.
Pelosi with the wino bottle, and then the picture everyone saw when Fox put her on the screen and other TV outlets, Rosa DeLauro. You're a congresswoman, Erica.
I know.
Right?
I'm so embarrassed, ladies of
What
Connecticut.
are we doing here?
We got to do better.
I mean, this is
purple hair.
That's my congresswoman. There she is.
Did she leave her broomstick outside the chamber?
That's not good.
She's trying to get Scooby-Doo.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, I mean, kind of embarrassing all around. The other one that I did have here is like, they decided to pull paddles. So I don't know
the auction paddles.
So there's all the Democrats bought their little paddles, and one says Musk steals, save Medicaid, I think.
Yeah.
And they would kind of hold them up. Hold
up your paddle.
And I even noticed, like, I was watching some of the reaction after, like, the Democrats they thought this was dumb too. Talk about a sure sign. It was not a good night for Democrats. I mean, Democrats on news are like, this is so stupid.
So the first, 5 minutes, you had Congressman Al Green. He was the guy during the first Bush Trump term, put forward the articles of impeachment, like within 10 minutes of Trump being sworn in. And Al Green was the one shouting. He's got his cane. He's like grumpy old man. Everyone said he was like Grandpa Simpson in the Simpsons show, just screaming for no apparent reason.
You have no mandate.
And so then J.D. Vance just gives them the heave-ho look, like, get him the heck out of here.
Proper decorum. The chair now directs the sergeant at arms to restore order.
Kick him out, Mike. Give him the thumb, J.D.
Remove this gentleman from the chamber.
He got the warning, and he wouldn't do it. He kept going. And of course, he's not going to resist because he's going to raise so much money off this too. But Republicans, it's kind of a theater. They planned this all out. I mean, they were ready. Oh. They didn't. I'm not saying that Speaker Johnson knew it was going to be Al Green in particular. I'm not surprised that it is. He is a particularly obnoxious idiot. But they did this, and then all the hoot and hollering, oh, yeah, how brave, how strong, how courageous. Oh, yeah, he's amazing. If we only had more people like him, and we'd never get anything done. But, after that, I have to say, Democrats are kind of wimped out. They're just like, meh, meh.
Yeah, there were a couple of walkouts, and then there would be like someone would post to Instagram, I walked out because I couldn't take it anymore. But it had clearly been like timed and scheduled and recorded beforehand, because one of them, she posts this video to Instagram, and it's like, I can't take it anymore. This is horrible.
Jasmine Crockett, right?
Jasmine Crockett. And it hits send exactly 30 seconds after Trump gives the Secret Service badge to the kid with cancer. And you're like, well, that was awkward for you. But yeah, look at they're so angry.
So here's just a rhetorical question, because I've been thinking about this a lot.
By the way, one of the people in the audience, one of the congressmen in the audience, actually passed away last night. Another Democrat from Texas. So, we pray
rest
for
in peace.
Yeah, rest in peace. So, like, you're talking about a razor thin majority, like all these things, kind of crazy. Anyway, I'm not trying to read anything into that. Just breaking news. So.
So I see a lot of this. There's tons of antics, and it's funny. Someone's like, okay, be nice, don't make fun of them. Like, this is worthy of making fun of these people. They're acting like toddlers. It's so unserious. You would think that the legislative body could act like adults for one night. I assume there's always been kind of antics. Like, now that there's cameras on them, there's extra incentive for these people to get their photo op or get in the shot. Like, they all wait in the line to greet Trump so that they can show to their donors or whatever so that they get elected. I assume there's a time before cameras. I'm not saying it was, a church in there. There's probably debate and whatever. If you were to give advice, like, say, how would you actually even advise Democrats to act during this speech? I almost feel like it's an impossible situation for them.
So think back to when Obama spoke and he literally lied through his teeth all the time. And Joe Wilson, the Republican congressman from South Carolina, just goes, "You lie." That's all he said. But it was obviously audible, and it was kind of like, "Ooh, there's violent decorum. How dare you interrupt the great one as he's speaking?" Saint Obama, right? And he got lashed out, and like conservatives were like having to apologize for it. Like, no, we should never do that. It was not. I don't know when it's 2013 or 14 or something like that. Like that is nothing compared to what happened last night. I mean, Al Green shouting and screaming and having to be kicked out, and all holding these signs and all wearing "Look at me," the same color stuff, and shouting and grumping and never like standing there like there. And it looked like Pelosi had a wine bottle. I mean, am I wrong in this? It literally looked like
it did. It really did.
So
yeah,
talk about civility and decorum, and I just have to say, was this your plan, Democrats? Did you think this really worked well for you? I guess because Congresswoman Crockett's going to go raise a bunch of money, saying I had to walk out. This was terrible. And Al Green, I was the one that stood the ground and shouted like with a cane in my hand, like, okay,
they dragged me out. Yeah.
Well, how did the American people look at it? Did you see the flash polls?
I did see the flash polls. Yeah. I got it.
CBS News had 76% approve of the speech, with only 23% disapproving. And it looks like CNN did another one not too far off, 69%, positive and 31 against. So 70-30.
Mm-hmm.
I guess my advice for the Democrats would be, I don't know, maybe shut up.
What I say, so okay, just to push back, devil's advocate, whatever you want to call it. The people watching this speech are really politically engaged. This is not reaching the average. The clips will reach, but
they're probably
people
more
actually
pro-Trump, like in general.
I don't know if I'd even say that. I'm just saying that the most politically engaged people are looking at this poll. But what ends up getting disseminated out of this, I actually think potentially could be worse for Democrats because all of the clips of them acting like children to the average person is embarrassing. Like if I'm not super engaged and I see, basically the equivalent of a middle school t-shirt signing on a pink blazer. And, one clip that I think is really making the rounds that's definitely going to break out of this is, I believe it was Nicole Shanahan. Did you see the thing she was saying on DJ?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, I don't even know how you would even get to this take, but this is gonna reach much farther than the speech, by the way.
Mm-hmm. But I think this was a lesson in finding one thing that you let yourself feel. And I let myself feel joy about DJ, and I hope he's alive for another, 95 years, right? And I hope he lives and the life he wants to live. He wants to be a cop. He knows what he wants to do. And maybe when you have childhood cancer, that crystallizes for you. And I hope he has a long life as a law enforcement officer. But I hope he never has to defend the United States Capitol against Donald Trump supporters. And if he does, I hope he isn't one of the 6 who loses his life to suicide. And I hope he isn't one who has to testify against the people who carried out acts of seditious conspiracy and then lived to see Donald Trump pardon those people.
Like,
what a nut
what
job.
Kind of a cold-hearted take is that somehow she has this largesse and ability she allowed herself to feel joy, like, and then to say, like, I hope he doesn't kill himself.
For a moment there, I was a human, and I had to robotically get back to spouting communist points. It was Nicole Wallace.
Then I remembered I hate Trump so much.
Nicole Wallace, yeah.
I was like, what? Like, RFK's running mate? No.
No.
Yeah, but, I mean, again, it's just... for these people, politics is their religion. It really is. Yeah. And, you look at, as much as they talk about, white nationalists are getting so politically active, it's, you know what? It's Episcopalians that are most active. And you know what? They ain't Republicans, people. We need Christians to wake up. Like, if these are the policies you want, these are the policies we could have had 20 years ago. But too many Christians were sitting on their hands. And now they got to get off their duff and elect candidates who will actually do normal common sense stuff that like 80% of the American people support. Like, why do we have this largesse in Washington that spews out billions of dollars for stupid crap?
That was one of the best moments last night, right? Was when Trump just took probably 8 minutes to go through the Doge findings.
The laundry list of garbage.
The laundry list of garbage, and he was in prime like apprentice mode.
Totally.
He was just like the asides. It was hilarious, and all the Democrats could do was sit there on their hands and demonstrate to the world that this is what they want.
George W. Bush would have never done anything like that.
No,
he would have mentioned one or two in a sentence
above
real
the
quick.
fray.
Trump's like, let's lay it out. Let's go.
Yeah,
I'm going to take my time here.
Yep, it was great.
Yeah, thinking about this because someone's like, oh, okay, let's rise above, talk about the issues at hand. I almost think that's kind of missing the point of what this speech is even supposed to be. Like, it really, did this speech reveal any new policy positions? No. It's important for the president to have an opportunity to speak to Congress, but broadly the American people, about the accomplishments, the priorities, and honestly the energy and kind of like I guess, of you're supposed to leave.
It's a conversation with the American people. I agree.
Totally.
Yeah, without the corporate
Trump
media filter.
And to your point, you're like, George Bush would have never done this. The way that conservative, quote unquote, or Republican, quote unquote, politicians spoke to the American people before was out of touch. And they were saying, no, they just want tax cuts and they just want war in the Middle East or whatever. It never really cut through. And I just think the reason why this speech is going to have such a broader reach, and actually people are going to remember this much more than, say, the reading off the laundry list, is because he's speaking to what the American people put him in there to do and actually care about. We're talking about these 80-20 issues. I could list them off: government fraud, waste, and abuse. The transgender issue in terms of getting boys out of girls' sports.
Just being against transgender surgeries on minors. Yeah.
Totally.
And
ending the war in Ukraine. Immigration. I mean, the fact that he brought Laken Riley's family again, he signed an executive order renaming something after Jocelyn Nungray, who 12-year-old brutally murdered by an illegal immigrant. Whether or not, I think the problem is with this political class before Trump, they thought that they knew what people wanted, and they never really took input. And I think bringing in the citizens in this case of Laken Riley's family, Corey Comparatori, he was the one that took the bullet.
I'm going to push back a little bit on this.
Okay, go for it. I'm just saying, I think he knows that the
presidents have brought these people in. Obviously, these kind of people have been brought in ever since Reagan started this. They've all done this. The thing I think was different about what Trump did is like what Erica was saying, like the laundry list of garbage stuff that we're spending money on, and to take that time and because Doge is a wonderful opportunity, but it is a major risk as well. And what was the Democrats' counter to this coming into? Remember, we talked about this last night. Trump brings in a border guard that's Hispanic. He brings in the cancer kid, which is sweet. Lincoln Riley's family brings in the other family you mentioned. But the Doge stuff is a thing where Democrats are hoping that they could rally the American people against the administration, and they were going to just keep hammering and hammering and hammering until the numbers started to fall. And they talked about all the people at the town halls that were screaming, yeah, dude, okay, every Republican congressman, at least 30% of their constituents are Democrats. So for them to show up and scream at them at a town hall, wow, courageous, as if that's suddenly a sea change in activity. No, the polls are still very strong. But the Democrats and their lackeys in the media want to build up this momentum against all the Doge cuts because they are the stenographers of the regime. They want the regime to continue to prosper and to continue what it's doing. So it was absolutely critical. I mean, yes, he spiked the football on the immigration stuff, and the Democrats are upset about that. Mm-hmm. But the Doge is where the battle is right now, and the Democrats are trying to seize on this. Like, oh, this poor park ranger who got fired. Give me a break. But if Trump didn't come ready, if he didn't come ready for this fight, then it would have been the vulnerability, and they would have kept chipping away at it. But I think he, as Erica said, coming up with this laundry list of crazy stuff that we're spending money on, and just rattled it off and just let it sit.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Let
like,
it simmer.
Yeah, just like, isn't this? He's basically saying, "Isn't this stupid?" I mean, I can't believe we're doing this, and it looks like he's finally starting to do something about it. So now, if there's one program out of 100 or whatever that was really, really good, and Americans like, yeah, maybe we shouldn't have cut that, but they're not going to immediately think, well, then throw out Doge. They're not going to throw it out with bathwater. Like, yeah, I think what Doge is doing is good. So I expect the biggest consequence of the speech is that he will have stopped any potential downward poll numbers on Doge and therefore the administration. And so this was a critical step to shoring up the support and solidifying it. I think it was masterfully done.
Yep, it was brilliant. The other piece that I don't think we've touched on yet that really stuck out to me was the closing, his closing comments, where he's going into the last few minutes, and one of the final guests, second to final guest that he highlights is Mark Fogel, who was the American school teacher who was held in Russia for 3.5 years. And of course, just the fact alone that the Biden administration failed to get this guy out of Russia and instead traded like this international criminal that we had for Brittany Griner. Like, I'm glad she's home, but like Mark also deserved a little bit of attention.
Yeah.
But that alone was fascinating. But he brings up again, he says, Mark Fogel, and he's sitting there next to his 95-year-old mother. He said, I met her on July 13th in a little town called Butler, Pennsylvania. You might have heard of it. Everyone a little laugh. He's like, that was not comfortable. But he goes, I met her and she asked me, please, if you are elected, get my son out of Russia so I can see him again before I die. And he said, and that was 10 minutes before I went up on the stage, and we all know what happened on the stage. He was like, and he goes through the assassination attempt. And then he says, I believe God saved my life. And he says to help save America. But I like looking at Mark Fogel's mother up there, a beautiful 95-year-old woman, just beaming and smiling that her son is back. Like she's thinking God saved him so that I could sit here with my son tonight. And that was a beautiful moment. And I think it really captured the authenticity of how Trump came across. Like, he is a man who he has literally looked death in the face. And he's dealt with that. He was a man without fear. And for all of his faults, he's a free man right now because he's in his second term. He knows what he wants to do. He knows he has a mandate from the American people. He knows all the momentum of the country is behind him on these issues that he just highlighted. And he ended that speech with, it was just like a master stroke at the end there.
Well, right. Like, because he does things that other Republican presidents have never done, where at the beginning where he's like, nothing I'm going to do, you're going to clap for me. This is crazy. You know, like,
and now I will prove myself right.
That kind of self-awareness. And everyone's like, yes, oh my gosh. And he goes through the laundry list of different things policy-wise, but he does it in his very Trumpian riff way, which feels like a rally and it's entertaining.
Right.
And then,
the Social Security to the 360-year-old guy. Yeah, that was hilarious.
It was hilarious. I mean, like, there's no way George W. Bush would have done that.
No.
But then, as you say, after he got talking about, Butler, PA, and feeling that, I feel like God, that
was a miracle.
It was a miracle that God wanted me to try to make America great again, to save America. And then that last, flourish, where it's a totally different cadence than the rest of the speech. And he didn't flub it. It was like flawless. It was, I want to make America, dynamic economy that can, raise people up and be the engine of the world and inspire people. I want to put American flag on Mars. And I'm just like, hell yeah. Like, I want to believe Mars. I want to feel good about my country. And I think actually that element, I mean, I should ask Tommy because you're in this generation thing, but I got to say his numbers, Donald Trump's numbers, I said this before, between 18 to 29 have been amazing. I mean, it's taken a big spike. And I think that kind of little riff at the end, I think that's what it's about. Like, we want to make it so that people can afford their homes and start families and have good paying jobs.
You're right. I mean, I think it was David Sachs was saying something about this. Like, the newest kind of attack on Trump is that the Dow is down a little bit or something like that. They're talking about trade wars and how the stock market might go down and we might have a correction. And what people are missing is 70% of Americans have no real assets in the country. They don't own a home. Right. They don't have significant investments. Right. They're basically just floating around. And so to think that the stock market going down is going to really make 70% of the country angry, it almost doesn't affect them. I mean, it does obviously through the knock-on effects, but I think people would be willing, as I am as a young man, to see a bit of a correction, to understand that my future is going to be much more attainable. Can I own a home affordably? Will I be able to afford groceries if we handle inflation? Do I feel like my country is going in the right direction? It's not going to send me to a forever war, not going to send my money to a forever war. I mean, the only thing Democrats clapped for and stood for fully was an extension of the war in Ukraine.
That was
nothing more.
unbelievable, right?
I think people are. It's hard to emphasize this enough as a young man in America. Like, not only were we told, we were racist, and especially as a white heterosexual man, you want to put me in all the identity categories.
Christian.
Oh man, even worse. But like, we were told I was a bigot, I was racist, I should hate my country, we're not doing good things. Also, you should go die for it, by sending your money away, sending you potentially away for it. I think it is understated. Trump starts this speech with "America is back," and I think that people in my cohort, not to speak for all of them, for myself, I'm tired of people telling me how I should speak, whether I can leave my house. I mean, the effects of COVID, I think, will last forever, especially for young people, because that was a period of time I was in college. That was when I was supposed to be starting my career. I was starting my family. I was trying to get married. I couldn't even get married when I want to get. The party that owns that, in my opinion, are Democrats and some Republicans too. I just think Trump broke all of that, even though he was a part of some of that, but he broke all of that. I think he's willing to be unconventional. America's back. I think a lot of people feel that kind of optimism. The speech just exuded optimism. There's USA chants. It was exciting. There's a real energy to it. I think people feel that. I feel that. And to see the other side look like kind of petulant children and unserious, it's a pretty easy choice, I think, for young people. It's unsurprising to me that he's popular.
And I got to say, sometimes the circumstances work in your favor. So I remember thinking that there was a silver lining to the fact that the midterm elections before this presidential election were kind of disappointing for Republicans. I remember that night when it first started out and the numbers were coming out of Florida, and it was like, oh my gosh, we might have like a red tsunami from coast to coast. And after Florida, it was like,
Purple puddle. Right.
and I'm like, okay, well, gee, that was kind of disappointing. But there is the element where, like, you if you have a midterm and you do so well, then you kind of like relax and coast, like, oh, we're going to win the next presidential election, no problem. And that's, if you think about under Obama, we galloped, we whomped in 2010, and then what happens 2012? We're going to win, we'll lose, and then again we did great in the midterms in 2014. Like, okay, great, 20 whatever. So my point is, having that taste of victory so close and not to get it, it actually makes you work harder. And I think actually it's a blessing that the Republicans right now have a super tight majority, because they all got to act together. And it's like, you're in it. It's like almost like a suicide pact in the sense, but you guys got to work together, because you can't be petulant little children like the Dems. They're waiting for us to screw up on anything. So we're in this together. And I think, the midterms are coming along before you know it. So you got to get legislation passed. You got to be thinking about those 80-20 issues. What is popular with the American people? And go to them and say, why is it that Democrats are against protecting, girls in sports? And why shouldn't we cut taxes? I don't understand. Like, the economy's hurting. We need to do it. We need to keep these tax cuts going. And so, if the Democrats want to keep blowing things up and being stupid, fine. But the best case scenario as we get through this year, and as we get to think about the elections, I don't want Republicans to like romp in the midterms. I want us to just just enough, because it keeps
feel the pain. Yep.
That short leash, so you realize, hey, you got to keep working. There's no, and that calls on all of us citizens too. There's no let up. You need to keep fighting. Like, you think you did your part by voting in November, and then you can sit back and watch his speech and clap? You think that's it? No.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's how we get these Republicans from deep red states that are terrible. I mean,
right.
The Dan Crenshaws, John Cornyn. I mean, these guys are from Texas. It's like all they care about is sending as much money as possible to Ukraine. Like, it's because people sit on their hands and they don't go vote during these midterm elections. They're important.
John Cornyn is a perfect example. You're right. Like, the lieutenant governor there, Dan Patrick, he's the real deal, and he's going to probably challenge John Cornyn in the primary next year.
Should.
I'm here for it. Sounds good. Let it be.
He'll get my check.
Absolutely. Okay, so if we got nothing else there, the only other moment I had was him talking about ending weaponization of government. He said, I actually had a political opponent try to prosecute me. How'd that work out?
He was so trash talking. I mean, some people online were like, oh, this is so unstatesmanlike. I'm like, This is the new
Grow up.
reality of like, yeah, come on, guys. This
Grow up. I'm tired of the speech.
I don't
please.
like asymmetrical warfare. Okay.
Exactly.
I'm done with that. Okay. So if Democrats want to stop being petulant little children and screaming and hollering, having to get kicked out of the House chamber and holding up these goofy signs and doing all that if they want to get rid of all that childish behavior and return to decorum and proper mores about doing things. Hey, sounds great. But then if you call us grandma killer because we don't want COVID masks on, like maybe you should shut up, because you call us Nazis all the time. So go pound sand. So no, this idea that we should be delicate and nice and sweet to people who compare us to Hitler. This is a family program, so I'm not going to tell you what I'd say to them to their face.
Josh, if it was only compares to Hitler, maybe that's one thing. But I don't know, locking up pro-life protesters, spying on churches, COVID lockdowns, open racism. I mean, these people are like the most
celebrating a guy
evil of evil.
who murdered a healthcare CEO. Like
these,
yeah.
These are not people that you just kind of hang out with. Like these are, you got to defeat these people. That's what.
Right.
Again, I'm not going to go on the rant about principal losers. I'm tired of them. I want to win. You need to win in order to do anything. We are going to win. I'm not in the game of, but we got to look kind of nice. It's like the whole Mike Pence thing. I'm done with the.
Well, and again, part of it is like there's this notion of some conservatives or whatever that they want to show how virtuous they are by attacking more strongly the people on their own side than the other side. Right. I don't understand that tactic. I think to myself, we have billion-dollar multimedia corporations that are attacking conservatives and Republicans every minute of every day. So if someone on the conservative side screws up, I don't have to wait. I don't have to feel like I better show everyone how I'm not like that and I'll attack them. Like, you know what? Yeah. If someone screws up, fine. You know what? Let the media go crazy. I want to spend my time trying to prevent, people like Jasmine Crockett from getting legislation done. She's a psycho.
Yeah. Well, it's like, imagine a sports team operating like that. Like your shooting guard all of a sudden starts talking trash about your forward. Like, what are we talking about here?
You need to clean up your game, buddy.
Yeah, right. To the media.
Direct your ire in the correct direction.
All right. So I have a question here. I saw this headline this morning. Erica, I had you look into it a little bit. So we had a Supreme Court decision come down this morning. Supreme Court denies President Trump's emergency bid to cancel nearly $2 billion in USAID spending. The vote is 5-4. If you're wondering who hopped over, it was our very own Amy Coney Barrett. I don't really know too much about this, Erica. If you could just give me a brief 411.
Yeah.
Before you go into the brief explaining, I just want to make a 1-minute defense of Amy Coney Barrett, because I see a lot of conservatives like, oh, see, she was terrible. See, she wasn't a good idea. I would like to officially tell those people to shut up. This is why. I remember when Ginsburg died. It was in September before a presidential election. We had weeks. There was no screwing around. And so it was very easy that nomination would have been unfilled, and then Biden would have been gotten it sworn in and put in a communist in there. So like, if you complain like, oh, Amy's not perfect, like, dude, she's better than Ginsburg. And like, you're talking about having like days and weeks, not months, to replace her. It was in September. The election was in November. Like, there was no time to waste. So you could get her up there and you could talk about how Democrats embarrassed themselves. Remember Feinstein? The dogma lives loudly.
Dogma lives loudly.
This was an opportunity. Like, we can get 51 votes for this person. This may be the best that we can do right now. Go for it. And so that means every once in a while she throws a vote away. It's kind of stupid. I'm not happy about that, but
yeah, stop bragging on her.
I'm more mad about John Roberts.
Fortunately, my 411, my 411 is not going to touch on Amy and her virtues or what have you at all. So we're just going to talk about this decision because this is, and we'll go into Alito a little bit and his dissent. So I'm just going to give you the timeline so everyone's got this. We've got January 20th. Trump comes into office and he halts all of the payments to these aids, to these nonprofits and people receiving aid. Federal money, your taxpayer money. The recipients of this aid, they file almost immediately 2 lawsuits to resume the payments for that. Then on February 13th, we have Judge Amir Ali of the DC Federal Court. He's a Biden appointee. He orders a pause on the pause, right? So stick with me. Trump pauses the payments because he wants to review on a case-by-case basis where we are sending taxpayer money for foreign aid. The judge says you need to resume the payments and you have until midnight on this certain date. The Trump admin comes back and responds that, quote, we are entitled to continue to conduct a case-by-case review of the grants and contracts and halt or approve spending one at a time. To me, as someone in charge of a household budget, this just makes all kinds of sense. Let's review our expenditures. We aren't saying we're going to never pay this money, but we need to make sure that the money's going where it's benefiting taxpayers. Yeah.
Well, no, I
maybe.
mean, the case, I don't agree with it, but the case that the other side would make is that that's actually for the House and Senate oversight committees to do that deal with that. I mean, I agree with Trump administration, but that there's at least an argument on the other side. I don't,
Yeah, there is an argument on the other side, and I get it. But the fact that Congress has like vacated most of its responsibilities, Trump's like, I'm going to come in and
why can't he also do oversight too? That's the better argument, right?
That's the other argument. So just last week on the 25th, the same judge then ordered the administration to pay $1.5 billion in already completed aid work. So for work already done on these contracts. And Chief Justice Roberts makes an emergency administrative stay. And then we get this decision early this morning on the SCOTUS website. We have the decision. They've rejected President Trump's emergency request to freeze that $2 billion. And they say that the lower court judge, quote, just needs to clarify what the obligations of the government are to fulfill. Now, the argument for this decision, this is coming from the nonprofits. I wanted to put this out there. Quote, by forcing thousands of American businesses and nonprofits to suspend their work and by halting disbursements for work they had already performed, even work that had already been reviewed by the government and cleared for payment, the government plunged respondents into financial turmoil. So that's like the argument that you'll hear in the left and in the mainstream media is like, okay, Trump deprived all these people of their just payments, and we said we would pay it, and he's overacting on the executive. The dissent on this from Justice Alito is scathing, is a nice way of putting it. He calls it hubris on the part of the Supreme Court. Self-aggrandizement also comes up in the dissent. The dissent is much longer than the decision itself. It's an emergency decision, so it's shorter. Right. But he took time with this dissent, probably like over 24 hours he wrote this. I just need to quote two passages from it, and then I'm going to let you go on it, Josh. He says, quote, does a single district court judge who likely lacks jurisdiction have the unchecked power to compel the government of the United States to pay out and probably lose forever $2 billion taxpayer dollars? The answer to that question should be an emphatic no, but a majority of this court apparently thinks otherwise. I am stunned. And then he goes on in the next paragraph. The government must apparently pay the $2 billion post-haste, a vast sum that can never be recovered, not because the law requires it, but simply because a district judge so ordered. As the nation's highest court, we have the duty to ensure that the power entrusted to federal judges by the Constitution is not abused. Today, the court fails to carry out that responsibility, end quote. I mean, this is like hard line from Alito.
I think it's a question of like what Amy Barrett is doing. It may seem like it's splitting the baby, but her mind, it would be, if the government decides, if the executive decides he doesn't want to cut checks for stuff that he doesn't want to support, that might be fine. But if it's for stuff that's already been completed and you're just like, well, I'm going to stiff you and not pay you, that's probably where she's drawn the distinction. And so therefore there would be,
I can see that argument.
There is redress that you can bring in through the judicial system there. That would be, so again, this doesn't seem to me on its face, just a cursory look at it, that it's absolute like destructive to the conservative end of it. You can still have, like when the next case comes down and it's something where it hasn't been paid in advance, and Trump is like, yeah, I don't think I want to spend, $50 million on some sort of stupid gay opera in India or something like that. Then no, it wouldn't have been you owed it to them necessarily. Mm-hmm. You just decided you don't want to spend it. So I think Amy would vote our way that.
And isn't all this kind of circumvented by impoundment to begin with?
Well, impoundment hasn't been exercised yet necessarily. I mean, that's kind of like, right now it's just a review and we're holding back the payments. It's not necessarily that he's not going to pay him yet, but there will be a challenge on impoundment for sure, because ultimately Trump is going to say, I'm not going to pay this, and Congress says, well, we appropriated it. It's like, okay, well,
Yeah.
you allowed for the spending of this money, but I'm still not going to do it.
Yeah, I think that's a separate question, though,
It's
from
definitely a separate question on that.
right. I think that's a separate question from whether or not this lower court judge even has jurisdiction over a question like this. And I think that was Alito's first point in the dissent, is that what the decision is saying is that this single judge has the ability and the unchecked power, he says, to compel the federal government to pay these funds with or without review.
Right.
And so the question.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
It
No,
doesn't,
go ahead.
like, where was this court, like this judge that did it? Because it may have nothing to do with they may have just done judge shopping to get the verdict that they wanted to.
Unquestionably. Right.
Because like whoever was the plaintiff that didn't get the money, like they're probably in a completely different state. So like Alito would be like, why would you even be using that judge? Why don't you use that one there? Because that's where the harm is, instead of judge shopping. So Alito and Thomas are looking for the opportunity to put a smackdown on this kind of judge shopping stuff.
Yeah.
And Amy's not going to allow it on this. I'm not trying to be Justice Barrett doesn't want to mitigate that.
Appreciate it.
That right here, because she's like, there's an imminent harm because like they're getting stiffed and not getting paid for what they did, and so she wants to adjudicate that and then save the other argument for another day, I think.
Yeah. So like when do we get to the root of this issue, the issue of judge shopping? Like we have a symptom of our current system being a judge from somewhere, anywhere in the country that is liberal enough to just say, oh, we're going to freeze that and I'm going to have power over the executive branch.
Do the same thing, even though we're against it. Like we always find that one judge in Texas, so we know we have 100% chance.
For the mifepristone case.
It's like a drug dealer.
Right, we do it too. But it's a symptom of the deeper sickness that we've inverted our constitutional order. And that instead of using the judiciary branch as the Article 3 backstop to protect the Constitution, we're using it to legislate, and we're using it to decide, oh, this is what Congress really meant. When Congress's job was to allocate this money and be very specific about how it was being spent, Congress should have done the oversight. The executive branch should not feel like it has to review every single expenditure. I'm glad that they're there. I'm glad that they're doing it. But if Congress had done its job in the first place, this whole thing would have been the way that it was intended in the constitutional order.
So true, Erica. So true, because the fact is Congress does not do legislating. They just do spending. Right. The Laken Riley Act is about the only consequential law other than that they've done. I mean, they spend money, they cut taxes. That all requires just only a majority vote. But anything that requires 60 votes, what have they really done? I mean, the Lincoln Riley Act, and they changed the election count stuff after J6. But that's about. I mean, you can count on one hand like consequential laws they passed in the last 5-10 years. They're not doing it, and part of it is that, again, the filibuster. We basically transformed the Senate into a place where no legislation of any consequence, because the parties are so divided. That even if something that has 80% approval rating, like, let's not do transgender surgeries on minors. Democrats, the 40 Democrats are like, no, we're not going to allow it.
Right, because they're more wedded to the party than they are to the people.
And by the way, there's a solution to this.
Wait, can I ask real quick, Josh? Wasn't the Inflation Reduction Act passed? Wasn't the infrastructure bill passed? Are those not considered?
Those are all spending bills.
Oh, okay. So outside of spending bills.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like there's not that many laws that get passed other than like renaming a post office. I mean, like what? Like we're not like the Patriot Act, but that was like 2001. I mean, like give me like actual laws that get passed. There's not a ton of them. It's because, again, with the filibuster as the backstop, it's like, nope, we don't do anything. And so that's why like some conservatives have said, well, why don't we actually force them to actually filibuster? Because it's just like everything in DC. They phone it in. They don't actually even filibuster. It's not like you're watching the movie where Jimmy Stewart goes to Washington and he's standing on the Senate floor for 20 hours or whatever. Last time we had anything like that was like the Civil Rights Act, when the racist senators were like trying to stop it, right? Well, I mean, like, get these guys to go out there and speak on the Senate floor for 30 hours in a row to talk about how we have to stop, a bill that would prevent dudes from playing girls' sports. Like, debate the thing. Oh, you got you filibustered it. I guess we're done. Like, no, go force them, grind the Senate to a halt, and make these people talk and talk and talk about how we can't have. We got to make sure dudes play girls' sports. I mean,
And
like,
spike volleyballs in girls' faces
Yeah,
and give them
like,
brain
come on.
injuries. Yeah, I've got to do that.
Don't they just read like Dr. Seuss now? They'll like go up and read books.
Exactly. They show what a farce it is,
Trans books for kids.
It's
That's what they read now.
It's becoming more and more unsurprising why approval rating in Congress is so low. So right now, if I could, last thing before we move on. So this is a $2 billion post haste. So this is $2 billion that's already been appropriated by Congress. Was that in a spending bill?
Yeah, it's all on a spending bill.
Right. So
the
a
point
spending
is
bill
that
said
the money that was allocated for this, the job that was already completed. And so now that company's like, okay, or organizations like, we want the money that we did for doing what we did. So that's why this took on a different question than like if he cut off money for like a clinic. There's that trans clinic in India where he cut the funding off. Well,
Yeah.
it's not like we appropriated the money to build something and then we halfway through stopped or something like that. Like so we're not obligated to perpetually fund this clinic forever. So we decided, we're done. So it was a different constitutional question than something like, you asked us to do this, we did it,
Right.
and now you don't want to pay us. So,
but that's the question in this lawsuit: is someone
That's
did
my
something,
point.
right? So then why isn't the answer, yeah, just pay them the money? They already did it.
well, because Trump cut the funding off.
But they already did They already did the work. Why haven't they been paid yet?
That's exactly what they're asking.
Yep.
Wait, but then, so why are you mad about this ruling? Like, I understand that
I'm not mad about this ruling.
Okay, I was going to say this kind of makes sense. Like, they did the work.
Yeah, there's a lot of conservatives that are just kind of got cranky about Justice Barrett on this question, and I'm like, this doesn't mean that it's preventing the administration from cutting funding off on certain things, but it's a question of whether or not, if we asked an organization to do something and they do it and then they send us the bill, we should pay that. Yes. But that doesn't obligate us to to keep funding other stuff in perpetuity.
Yes.
So This ruling that like conservatives are upset by, Alito's obviously upset. There's reasons that he's upset other than just we should pay what we do. So there's a few different issues that are going on in this lawsuit. Is kind of my point.
Well, and I think too that part of the issue, Alito's big issue is the procedural issue of the judge shopping, and does this judge even have jurisdiction to do this? Can a district judge compel the president of the United States, the executive branch of the federal government, to pay out this money, especially in the circumstance where the Trump administration has said we are reviewing the payments? And I think given the track record of the Biden administration for making crazy payments and for things that aren't even done, like think of the $42 billion towards like charging stations that just never even happened. Right. I think the Trump administration is saying, look, we have reasonable cause based on the track record of the previous administration and the deep state for the past 60 years. We have reasonable cause to say that we're going to review these one by one before we pay it out, if we end up paying it out at all. And the judge is like, nope, you just got to pay it out because we committed to it. These people say they did the job and you just got to give them the money. And again, the procedural issue of the constitutional disorder that's now endemic to our system is the issue at hand that's upsetting people. So I do think that conservatives need to be careful when they attack it, and they can't just be like, we can't pay any money anymore to anything. Exactly. Like if people did the work, if they built the bridge, we should pay for the bridge. But did that actually happen? I think, again, given the track record, given what we're seeing with Doge, it is perfectly reasonable for the Trump administration to say, we want to review this on a case-by-case basis to make sure that the money Congress appropriated is actually being spent in the interests of the American taxpayer. Because I don't trust the people. I don't trust the nonprofits when they say we did the job. Yep. Let's verify. And the judge is like, nope, can't verify. Off you go. Pay it within 24 hours.
Okay. Yep.
That's my take.
Okay. So you guys slide in the Twilight Zone.
I agree with Erica. As I always do.
Hey! I'll drink my coffee to that.
Okay, Josh, you were up first. What do you got?
Oh, I thought, all the stuff with the address to the nation. By the way, that speech last night, did you know that they had a motorcade, a fake one, an entire full fake motorcade, just because they're so freaked out? Like, what if someone's coming after the president? Because, there's so many assassination attempts. That's where we've come as a country. They had a whole new separate motorcade. It was completely, empty. Not, Trump wasn't in it, just to kind of get people off the case. That's just, to me, I don't object to it. It's probably a good idea, but it's kind of sad that it's come to this.
The beast.
Yeah, you got to do a second one, but I want to do a true palate cleanser from that and all that. I just want to talk about the genius between men and women, and we always talk about the feminine genius. I have a little masculine genius. Here we go. I don't know where this pastor's at, but I'd love to go to church someday. This cracks me up.
Women talk in circles. Men talk in straight lines. I come in and I ask my wife, what's for dinner? That's what I really want to know. She says to me, well, I was getting off work and I recognized we didn't have nothing at the house to cook. So I knew I had to stop by the store to get something. I was going to go to Big Bear because they had a sale on. But the traffic was backed up all the way up 75. I had to go down 35 and up Euclid. I came up Euclid and got to Kroger's. Now, I hated to pay full price for chicken when I knew that right over at Big Bear they had it on sale. But I went ahead and got it anyway, and while I was in the store, I saw some ice cream and some chicken. I ran into Fred's wife. Can you believe it? That girl is pregnant again. Anyway, I got back home. Can't you just say chicken?
Oh my gosh. I feel seen.
Josh, do you have something you'd like to tell us? Is there something going on there?
I'm telling you,
Lori in
I'm
the chat
married
today.
to a woman.
That was funny. It's kind of true, guys.
No, I'm submitting no comment. No comment on this one.
Yeah, I was talking to a girl up at I had my daughter up at Thomas Aquinas College. Hey, shout out to Thomas Aquinas College in Northfield, Massachusetts. My daughter went up and visited for a weekend, and while I was there, I was talking to some of the kids. Had a great time. I mean, just what a happy campus. This one girl was there. I was like, "Oh, where are you from?" She's like, "I'm from California." And I was like, "Whoa, so you came here instead?" And she's like, "Yeah, I just wanted to do something different." And she's like, "Yeah, it's great. I mean, but the weather, man, like the seasons," because she's like, there are no seasons. It was 70 degrees and sunny every day. And I'm like, yeah, I think of the California TAC campus is kind of like male hormones. And then the Northfield Mass campus is like the female hormones with the up and the down and up the down. She's like, yeah. And my poor daughter was like, oh my gosh, Mom, you did not just make that analogy. This is why I have to come on Loopcast so I can say stuff like that. My kids don't watch. So
Mom, stop embarrassing.
I know.
It's a free speech zone.
But men and women are different. Got it. Anything that helps us remember that, really important.
That's fair.
Right.
The thing about it is that just for men to realize that there is a genius to women, and for, you know what, actually, yes, thank you, for women to realize there's a genius the other way too.
Josh, really patting yourself on the back today.
Yeah. Women, we're always like, well, if women ran the world, there'd be no wars. I'm like, girl, if women ran the world, we would have nuked ourselves 50 years ago. Like,
I think we potentially have a lane in here. We could turn Josh into the next like manosphere influencer. I'm thinking really dark, shady lighting with you just saying really aggressive, like meat.
That would be such an upgrade over
Speak your
Andrew Tate.
mind. Yeah, exactly.
Let's
Like
do
we
it.
could I think there's a lane here for us, Josh.
Mhm.
Let me know.
Yeah.
I can get you set up.
Nice black background.
Erica,
Right.
your Twilight Zone.
Yeah. Well, hey guys, I've been down on electric vehicles. I've often
Publicly.
scoffed at them. And but something happened here in New England this week that might actually make me buy one just to be ornery. So we had you could pull up my libs of TikTok here. Yeah, in Massachusetts, we had a terrorist attack on a local Tesla charging station. These guys came in protest of Doge burned down all the Tesla things. And so you got to understand, Massachusetts is like climatechange.com state. They're like mandating people. They're all about, you have to drive electric vehicles. You have to, use wind turbines in your backyard. You're going to pump water with the solar powered panels. So what do they do when they're mad at Elon Musk? They start burning their charging stations for their electric vehicles. And this alone, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go out and buy a Tesla. I'm just going to do it. This is
just quick observation. Can't be very good for the environment, right?
I mean, that's a lot of carbon
I'm seeing the black
being
smoke here.
generated. That's not good, guys. Not good. So it's Trump derangement syndrome everywhere.
So I have a funny story on that. So I'll keep him anonymous, but I have someone who does some work on Tesla factories, and he said someone that worked in customer service at the specific Tesla factory said they received a call and they left a voicemail. And I'm not a detective or anything, but I heard the voicemail. It sounded like a white woman in her 60s called in and said, "Excuse me, I would like you to tell Elon Musk to stop influencing the government." And the guy's like, okay, like he recorded the call and said, this is a Tesla factory. Like you have a better chance reaching him on Twitter than you do calling here. I hope you know that. And she's like, maybe I'll try that, but you let him know. All right. I'm like, okay, I'll try my best. It's just it's a Tesla factory in Indiana. Like not going to get to Elon. So,
oh my gosh, people are crazy.
Swastikas. I saw they're painting swastikas on some of the Cybertrucks now.
Oh, there are signs against Musk everywhere. I was in DC for sure.
Oh, really? Yeah. Yeah.
Brave.
I'm here for it. All right.
Yeah, brave.
That's what I got, Pogo. You're up.
All right. So first off, I'd like to take a moment of silence on this podcast for Josh here and 538. 538, the poll aggregator and election predictor is no more. Yeah. ABC,
Disney cut it.
Wow.
Moment of silence.
All right.
Josh, I know as an election nerd, this is probably tough for you.
Well, it went downhill when Nate Silver left it, and then a few other people that were there that were pretty good left. So it's been a shell of itself for the last few months.
Yeah. So anyway, moving on. I just cannot help but laugh at Canada continually. I will continue to laugh at Canada. Here's a press conference from Justin Trudeau threatening to not vacation specifically at Old Orchard Beach, which I honestly don't know where it is.
Is that Florida?
Canadians are not angry at the American people for this. We don't have anything against Americans. Americans are our neighbors, our friends, our partners. We do things together. We've done things together for decades and generations. This is a policy decision by the American government designed to go after the Canadian economy. This is a trade war, yes. But Canadians are hurt. No. Canadians are angry. We're going to choose to not go on vacation in Florida or Old Orchard Beach.
That's Maine, actually, yeah.
We're going to choose to try to buy Canadian products and forego bourbon and other classic American products.
Oh, it's taking away their bourbon.
Probably going to keep booing the American anthem. But
okay.
Sorry, it's really quiet. He said that they're going to keep booing the American anthem. Every time I hear this guy speak, I think of the Mad Men meme of the guy in the elevator saying, "I'm sorry for you." And then Don Draper saying, I never think about you. I like whatever you think about this, just objectively hilarious to be like, we're so mad at America, we're going to stop vacationing at Old Orchard Beach. I've never even heard of Old Orchard Beach.
Country is
what are you
worst.
talking
It's in
about?
Maine. It's kind of cold. And yeah. Did you see Ron DeSantis? His response to this, he's like, well, Trudeau says we're going to stop vacationing in Florida. He's like, last year we had 142 million vacationers in Florida. Canada sent us 3.5 million. He's like, we're all right. I'm okay. And just to note, Justin Trudeau, yeah, Canadians are angry. This is going to be frustrating. It's going to hurt Canada more than it's going to hurt the United States with the tariffs. But I think what Canadians are most angry about, if you check the polls, is you, Justin. You are highly unpopular. So let's talk about why Canadians are angry and frustrated right now.
Well, and we've had a great free trade with them since 1985, and we'd like it to continue, actually.
Yeah, what are you talking about, Josh?
The problem is that they just, as someone mentioned in the chat, they're not helping out with fentanyl. Like they're giving, licenses to any truck driver in a parking lot who wants it. And so we're getting all these people bringing in these drugs. Like,
Josh, let me stop you. let me stop you. We actually don't, as of 2024. Here's some Canadian tariffs on Americans: milk 270%, cheese 245%, butter 298%, chicken 238%, sausages 69.9%. We've had tariffs on it. They've had tariffs on us since 2024.
On the
And we're
dairy
talking
stuff, that's true.
25%.
Yes,
We're
yeah.
talking a 25% tariff right now.
Right,
from
but I'm
us
just okay.
on
So
Canada.
mind blown. Canada has been throwing tariffs at us since 2024. First off, hilarious. And I don't even dislike Canadians. I dislike Justin Trudeau. I don't like you. I don't like you at all. I think you're completely unserious. I think you're a terrible leader. And I'm just tired. So they've been putting tariffs on us. Trump, for the first time, is like, hey, maybe I should negotiate on behalf of my people. And a lot of this talk, because he's going to fold. Canada's going to fold. They have to. It's just look at the raw numbers. It feels like Trump's one of the first leaders to actually try to negotiate for better things for Americans. Like, did people just not even try before? Like, why is everyone freaking out about very simple things done to try to protect Americans, literally their physical safety in terms of fentanyl, but even us economically? No one tried before.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, this is a return to more like talk about the golden age. We're talking more like Gilded Age. I mean, Trump has said McKinley is one of his heroes. And that was an age when American presidents, we were not the world superpower at that point. It was pre-World War I. And American presidents negotiated with other countries on behalf of the American people. And I think that's the model that Trump is now helping us to rediscover here.
We
the
use
tariff
tariffs
thing,
to
trade,
shore up our industrial base to help
Right.
build it. Right.
Exactly. I mean, and now with the deindustrialization of the middle states, like we have to do that again, and we need to and it's already bearing some fruit. We've got billions of dollars coming in from the Taiwanese computer chip company already. We have Honda just announced the deal in Indiana, right? Is that your home turf? And
Yeah.
so it could be working. I mean, it's going to take time. It's going to take time to see. And a lot of people are really down on the tariffs on the conservative side of things.
I'm not.
But we got to try something new. We
I think
can't
it's
keep
great.
doing this. Like,
I've even seen like people put up the graph of the St. Louis Fed, like, oh no, our manufacturing levels are just as high as they were before. They dipped during COVID, and if you look at it all time, it is. But that graph that I keep seeing doesn't actually sort for the type of manufacturing.
Right.
So the type of manufacturing
and
that
the
we
impact
do,
on wages.
exactly, impact on wages and
Right.
impact on cities, like parts of the country that used to have manufacturing that just got shipped overseas. Sure, we might have certain parts of the country that manufacture certain things, but not the type of things that actually would matter from a national security perspective, which is a huge problem for us. I mean, actually, one of the big reasons why we defend Taiwan and why Taiwan's a big conversation for us, they produce a lot of chips that we do not produce now, and we are not able to produce now. So if China takes them over, we're in big trouble when it comes to AI or advanced technology, things like that. If anyone's wondering why we care about Taiwan, it's not because we have some altruistic desire. That's all table talk. The reason we do is because of the chips they produce for us. And that's actually why the Ukraine negotiation makes a lot of sense to me, because we're trying to tie ourselves economically to Ukraine to make it an American interest.
raw materials. Right.
Yeah. So anyway, all interesting stuff. Not concerned about Justin Trudeau or Canada at all. I don't think about you ever. And you're going to bend on tariffs. Watch. I mean, bold prediction. They're going to bend. So, and it'll probably end in an agreement that's good for both us and Canada. Probably better for us, hopefully, because I have a leader that negotiates on my behalf. Imagine
Someone
that.
asked about in the chat whether or not Justin resigned. He's still waiting for his finance minister Carney to learn sufficient French before he can take over as leader. That's literally what's going on.
Got to be bilingual.
Wow. Canada, man. Montreal.
It's hard
French
to learn
suckers.
a second language when you're older too, so it could be a while.
True. Do you know any other languages, Erica?
I'm pretty good at Latin, which
Okay.
is highly useful, very useful.
It is. It's good.
Yeah,
Makes you
I
a good
know.
writer.
Yeah, I know enough Spanish to like get by at a restaurant, and
See.
I forgot. It took 5 years, and then I just didn't use it. You use it or lose it with those languages.
See, senorita.
But my Latin's pretty great, I have to say.
Sweet. All right, guys, great show. We made it after a late night last night. Proud of us. So we will be back on Friday with another great show. If you want to help out the program, check out Charity Mobile. Thank you for sponsoring the program. Join the Champions Club. It's the best way to support us, catholicvote.org/champions. Thank you to all the champions here today. Shout out to everyone joining us here live in the chat. We appreciate having you guys here. It's fun seeing a lot of you on the live stream last night. If you want to help us out, reviews, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify do help a lot. And you can email me, loopcast@catholicvote.org. But I'm going to go take a nap probably. And I hope you guys have a great day. I'll see you guys ready for the show on Friday. Peace.